Hey everyone, today I want to talk about everything that happened at Digimon Con, the first ever 6-hour bilingual live stream that promised to cover Digimon games, the Digimon anime, the card game, the Vital Bracelet, and much more. The event was a bit of a head scratcher. Some folks seem to have enjoyed the deep dives into things like the anime history or the interactivity of the Vital Bracelet raid battle, while others were disappointed by the lack of new information or product reveals. I'll talk about my overall feelings on Digimon Con in the second half of the video, but first we'll start out by recapping the major news coming out of Digimon Con. Starting at the top, one of the things Digimon fans were most eager to learn about was the state of Digimon Survive and to hear the release date. This is, after all, a game that we've known about since 2018 and haven't seen at all for 2 years. The good news is Digimon Survive is not cancelled. We saw a new trailer and a pretty nice deep dive into the mechanics, and we learned the game should take about 40 hours for a complete first-time playthrough, with plenty of other options to play again, like New Game Plus and just alternate paths to take. The bad news is that we still don't have a release date, which is a little heartbreaking. It turns out this game changed development teams at some point in the last 4 years, and development restarted from scratch basically. A lot of fans, myself included, were fairly confident this was the time they'd finally share the release date for Digimon Survive, and when it didn't land, it was a little soul-crushing because we don't even have a confirmation that it's coming this year, like not even a fall 2022 kind of tease at the end, so it could be even a 2023 game or later, which is not what anyone wanted to hear. Next, we learned that classic Digimon games like Digimon World for PS1, the Japanese exclusive WonderSwan game starring Rio, and any other legacy titles you can think of, they're not currently being ported, remastered, or remade for current devices like the PC or Nintendo Switch. The head of Digimon Games, Habu-san, told fans that if they really want them, that they need to make it known, and I know I'm supposed to save my opinion for the back half of the video, but I do need to point out that Habu-san said the same thing in 2020 in a Q&A from that year, and while I appreciate the transparency of saying up front that no, these games aren't being worked on currently, I think that the sort of you guys just don't want them bad enough angle is, I don't know, it's a bit manipulative maybe. Ultimately, we don't call the shots, so either re-release these titles or don't, but don't tell fans it's their fault, like they didn't fight hard enough for Digimon World on the Switch. I don't know, maybe I'm off base, but I was pretty disappointed with this segment and the idea that we just need to get louder for these games to come out. I think that's a very bad thing to tell fans, especially with how toxic internet fandom can be. We next learned that the next Digimon story game, so the spiritual sequel to Cyber Sleuth to Hacker's Memory, it is in development, though it's still going to be a while until we see that. It won't be a direct sequel to Cyber Sleuth or Hacker's Memory. Instead, it'll be focusing on all new characters and will spend more time in the digital world as opposed to the real world Tokyo and the internet settings of Cyber Sleuth. And in, I guess I would call it anti-news, we did not hear about a new mobile game replacing Digimon Re-Arise, which we learned was shutting down only 1 week before Digimon Con. You know, I thought maybe they were announcing the shutdown of Re-Arise and teeing themselves up for the reveal of the next mobile game, but apparently no. So for now, once Re-Arise shuts down permanently later this spring, there will be no Digimon game besides the Vital Bracelet companion app on mobile devices, which is quite shocking. Touching on that, we learned that the existing Vital Bracelet app will see some upgrades, though they were a little short on details, but more exciting for me was that a secondary companion app for VB users is on its way, and this second app will focus on battling on PvP battles between Vital Bracelet owners. It's pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this will differ from the existing app, which already does offer some PvP elements on top of the NPC and raid battles. Rounding out the Vital Bracelet news, we learned of a white VB that's on its way, as well as the confirmation that the Digimon Frontier series is next in line to receive VB dim cards. We know that Agunimon and Lobomon cards are definitely coming, and we may see other characters from that show too, but it's not yet 100% confirmed. We also received confirmation that Digimon Adventure 2020 is finally getting that English dub that was rumored, and we got to hear the voice of Tai and Agumon in a brief trailer featuring scenes from episode 1. Both are sounding great in my opinion. It's a completely original cast, so this isn't Joshua Seth or Jeff Nimoy, which might upset some fans, but honestly, I think the combination of the Tri films and the Last Evolution Kizuna film was the ultimate send-off to that cast, kind of a swan song, and since this is a reboot, not a continuation, I'm completely okay with new voice talent breathing new life into the new versions of these characters. We also learned that the Digimon 02 movie that was announced last year is still very early in production, so early in fact that we were only given 2 black and white sketches of Davis, and they even stated these sketches may not be the final version, so do not expect this movie anytime soon. It's going to take place in the year 2012, so about 2 years after Last Evolution Kizuna, and yeah, it may have been obvious to some, but it confirms that this movie is set in the original adventure canon, not the 2020 canon. I thought there was a small chance this movie would end up being like a sequel to Digimon Adventure 2020, but nope, it's a follow-up to Last Evolution Kizuna. Finally, for fans who want to know what new merch is around the corner, besides the Vital Bracelet items I mentioned, we have Chibi 6-inch Ghost Game plushies incoming featuring Gamamon, Angoramon, and Jellymon. We've got Digimon Adventure plushies, as well as a new set of Digimon Anime Heroes action figures, which look awesome. They look really high quality. And the good news is that I've been assured by the folks at Zenin TCG that all of the stuff you saw at Digimon Con that is available to purchase in Japan, or will be available in Japan, will also be available through Zenin TCG. If you haven't heard of them, it's a one-stop shop for all your Digimon needs, run by people who love Digimon. They're gonna have those 6-inch chibi Ghost Game plushies, the Digimon Frontier dim cards for the Vital Bracelet, they're gonna have those too, the Digimon Adventure plushies of Agumon, Gomamon, Greymon, etc. that they showed, and even the Digimon Anime Heroes action figures. And that's on top of everything they already offer, including alternative straps for the Vital Bracelets in awesome unique colors, and strap extenders for people with bigger wrists, plus plenty for fans of the Digimon trading card game. If you head to Zenin TCG and make a purchase, you can use the discount code DIGICON10 for 10% off any purchase on the site. So absolutely check out ZeninTCG.com, as well as their Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Just a fantastic resource for Digimon fans. It's a site you absolutely need to have on your radar if you have any interest in Digimon merch as a fan living outside of Japan. Okay, so now that we've covered the important news coming out of Digimon Con, I'll share my thoughts on the show as a whole. As a bullet point list, there are definitely some cool new things that came out of this weekend, but as a 6-hour live stream that was heavily marketed, supported by various English and Japanese official Twitter accounts related to Digimon, I don't believe this event lived up to its potential. In particular, I don't know why this needed to be 6 hours, and ultimately, as sad as this sounds, I tweeted it out, but I'm actually less confident in Digimon's immediate future coming out of this event. It's something I never thought was going to happen. Frankly, I thought Digimon Survive was closer. I thought the 02 movie was closer. I thought the next mobile game was going to be announced, and I thought there would be more to convince people like me who aren't interested in the card game to jump on board. I was pretty disappointed in the Digimon Games Q&A segment and how much uncertainty and negativity came out of it. I was grateful for the almost unprecedented honesty from Habu-san, who answered fairly straightforward about games that were not being considered, games that they want to make but don't have plans to. But honestly, this wasn't the way to open a 6-hour convention. If we were investors or stakeholders in the Digimon franchise, I would be very concerned after an hour of Habu-san telling us about all the products that aren't ready to ship, aren't in development, and aren't being considered. I also didn't like the sort of if fans ask hard enough, we'll consider it responses to a lot of the questions, as I mentioned in the first half of this video, because it shifts blame onto the fans for not trying hard enough, while also almost inviting fans to be annoying online. So as someone with a background in like PR and community management and social media, when Habu kept telling fans to keep asking, I was kind of screaming at my screen like, stop, no, that's not the way to do this. If I had to produce the show, if I was in their shoes, what I would have done is gone the Nintendo at E3 route, which is have a 30 to 50 minute kind of keynote presentation at the top of the show, you know, your Nintendo Direct, and then afterwards you have the Nintendo Treehouse presentation, which is hours of casual staff interviews, card game battles, that raid event. So in the first hour in the keynote, you front load it with the Survive trailer, the white dim, reveal the English dub news, the Frontier cards, the new action figures, the Digimon 02 movie update. Then you wrap up the keynote and tell fans that if they choose to stick around, there is 4 more hours of programming, including interviews with the producers, the card game battles, live musical performances, and more. And maybe that means fewer people watch the entire 6-hour show, but because of how excited they were about the first hour, there's still enough goodwill from the keynote that a lot of folks do stick around to watch the rest. And also when people head to social media, they're not talking about how they wasted 6 hours, they're talking about how exciting that first hour was. I think that would have been more respectful of everybody's time. Make it so that the takeaway from Digimon Con is, wow, that was a jam-packed hour of news, rather than people saying it was 6 hours and we only got that many reveals. Structure is extremely important to these shows, and ultimately nobody forced them to make a 6-hour show. It's not like they've been doing Digimon Con for years. Fans expected a 6-hour show, but they were light on news this year and then decided to do 6 hours even though they were light on content. They decided for whatever reason that this was the right year for the inaugural Digimon Con, and then they just didn't really have enough to warrant a 6-hour show. Overall, I think the English dub news and the Vital Bracelet updates like the Frontier cards, the White Edition bracelet, and the second companion app are probably the best announcements of the show, but I expected a lot more. I didn't expect to leave feeling like the 02 movie is farther away than I thought, that the Survive game is farther away than I thought. For me, it's a disappointing outcome, but on the bright side, Zenin TCG is kind of the true star of Digimon Con in my opinion, and Zeno Robinson, who will be voicing Tai, and the translator who kept calling it Digimon. They're legends, all legends. Anyway, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope I didn't sound too negative. Of course, let me know in the comments what you thought about Digimon Con, and now I'm gonna take a long nap.